Kungaloosh and welcome. This is Addicted to Adventure. I'm Wes.
And I'm Caitlin. Join us as we uncover all of the lost cities, mystical artifacts, and historical mysteries that the adventure genre has to offer. Today, we're talking about Disney's The Jungle Cruise, based on the famous Disneyland ride.
British botanist Lily, played by Emily Blunt, and her brother McGregor, played by Jack Whitehall, travel to the Amazon in search of a legendary tree whose flowers have the ability to heal all ailments. They team up with Frank, a riverboat skipper, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and the adventure begins. So let's talk about Jungle Cruise.
The Jungle Cruise. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 63% critic review.
Okay.
IMDb gives it a 6.8. Metacritic is 49 out of 100, and the cinema score is an A- grade. Overall, pretty positive.
Fairly, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think, though?
The first time I saw it, I had a blast, a lot of fun, laughed a lot. The second time I saw it,
Is it because we were picking it apart?
maybe.
All right.
Could be. Maybe I was being a little more critical the second time around.
We were taking notes.
Yes. Still a fun movie,
I still think it's fun.
but I found a few things.
It's not perfect. Like,
No.
I was really hoping for this to be up there with The Mummy. Because it really has a lot of that feel.
It does.
As a matter of fact, I don't want to say rip off, but like they kind of rip off.
They kinda
like
do.
almost every character has an equivalent character in The Mummy,
Yes.
the 1999 Mummy.
Yes, the true and living mummy.
Yeah, of course, our Mummy.
That's right.
So, Emily Blunt is basically Evie from The Mummy.
Yes. Although her character is not quite as likable.
It's not, yeah.
I don't want to say she's not likable because I don't hate
No.
the character, but she's a little more.
She's more in your face
yes,
with a lot of stuff.
aggressive with a lot of stuff.
And that's the stuff that she's aggressive about is something I want to kind of talk about. Probably get us in trouble, but
Oh no.
it's something that that they kind of throw in there. That's a little. It makes her not unlikable, but I don't know.
I know this could get us in trouble. I will say the feminism thing is definitely apparent.
Oh yeah,
Nothing wrong with
obviously,
that.
yeah.
I don't have a problem with feminism at all. And I don't think what's annoying about her character is necessarily the feminist.
No. To me,
element.
it's that it's 2021 feminism in a movie that takes place in 1916.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in this movie
there
that
are
are
a lot of things that kind of poke out like that, which I understand. Like, you're not going to make a movie that is completely devoid of that, but it could be less in your face. You know what I mean? Because just like in The Mummy, there is a scene. You remember, she's drunk, and he's saying, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. And she kind of goes off a little bit, says, I'm proud of what I am, and that is really all you needed to say about it. It does it perfectly.
Yeah, and she's smart, and everyone,
Yeah.
she's respected to a point. They do make a point in this isn't a review of The Mummy, but we love The Mummy.
No. You can't avoid the comparison.
No, not at all. And I just love the way it's handled in The Mummy, where it's obvious that she's intelligent, she's smart, she's being held back potentially because of her gender
Yeah.
at the time, which probably would be
Almost certainly.
historically accurate, unfortunately. But it's not. I don't. What's the
It
word I
doesn't
want?
seem in your face.
Yes.
I wrote down 3 things where they injected modern sensibilities into this stuff.
Sure.
Sexism, of course we know that existed, but you don't have to make the movie about that.
Sure.
Animal rights, they've like to throw that in there, and then the gay rights thing,
Sure.
which
Well, I will say it's Disney, and
of course
it's all about educating children and trying to teach. It's fairy tales. That's what they do, right?
Yeah, there's a line between educating and indoctrinating, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
But, I don't know if I necessarily have to have that in my entertainment. But there are people, of course, who will rabidly disagree.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the first, I know we've talked a lot about comparing this to The Mummy, but
Sure.
there is no more obvious comparison than the first scene where, they even do a ladder trick.
Yes.
Although I will say the ladder trick is also not as good as in The Mummy.
It's
And
a little-
It's probably because it's
How is it less believable?
Well, because it's way more extreme. There's just way more going on. Like she's doing stuff on one of those ladders that slides across bookcases, you know.
Which is heavy.
Oh yeah, but then she grabs it and starts hopping on it.
Yes,
and,
don't those ones have wheels on the
and
bottom?
tracks? Yeah.
So how is she
So-
hopping on a ladder with wheels?
One of my notes I wrote down is Emily Blunt is Jackie Chan. 'Cause, like, it's not that it's not fun to watch. It's just a little on the unbelievable side. Like the one on
Yes.
The Mummy is. There's a certain level of check your brain at the door with these kind of movies.
Of course, yeah.
But the one on The Mummy is a little easier to believe.
Yeah.
It also, like, almost every action scene in this is 0 to 100 in no time at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost doesn't even give you time to catch up with what happened by the time it's over.
Yeah.
And this scene is like that. So it's just kind of, bam, we're in an action scene, and then before you know it, she's hanging on a ladder outside the window, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's over, and it's like, well, I mean, it's a cool scene, definitely. It's just, it doesn't give anything time to breathe, and it's almost too over the top, in my opinion.
Sure.
So,
I wonder where the line is between realism and...
yeah, that's a tough
Yes.
thing to define.
It is, because most of the adventure movies that we love, like Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Well, clearly there are some unrealistic things in there, but
for sure.
I think the trick is that it never makes you stop in the movie and think that's unrealistic.
Sure.
You're swept up in it, and that's the secret.
Yeah, it's
So wherever
just
the
used
line
enough.
is, yeah, it doesn't break the envelope of believability, I guess. Maybe that's the secret. I
Sure,
don't know.
maybe.
What the other thing, like we've already said that it has a lot of similarities to The Mummy, but like the plot is basically straight out of Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's like this weird mishmash of mishmash. There's this weird There's this weird combination
There it is.
of The Mummy and Pirates of the Caribbean, and with Pirates of the Caribbean, that was a pretty CGI heavy movie, and that was one
Yes.
of my notes here. Is it's very CGI heavy.
I think they brought that over, which might just be a Disney thing now.
I think it's maybe even just a generational thing.
Oh.
Newer movies are just full of CGI. You know?
True.
But I don't necessarily mean that that's bad. Most of the CGI in this is actually really good.
Sure.
But and there are a couple of standout scenes where it's just like, wow, that was really cool.
But then there are a couple of moments where it's
Yeah.
a little more obvious, and I think we talked about it's the 3D. I think they're
yeah.
set up to be 3D.
The 3D gimmick scenes.
The 3D gimmick scenes where
Yeah.
it's a branch coming out at you or one of
Or
the
a snake,
snakes
yeah.
and those
It never translates perfectly.
yes,
you know?
when you're watching it in 2D, I don't love it personally.
No, well, it just makes it very clear that what you're seeing is fake.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, you
Right.
know? I would much rather have them tone it down a little bit and have it be just a little bit more believable. But I guess that's too much to ask for. That's actually one of the notes I have is would be more believable if it weren't so obnoxious with the CGI. So,
Speaking of similarities to the Mummy, our character breakdown.
yeah.
Yes, we did talk about Evie, but we've also got the brother who's kind of a
The brothers.
goofball,
Yeah.
kind of gets into trouble.
Gets into trouble. A troublemaker a little bit.
Yes.
And that is straight over from The Mummy.
Yes. We've got the swashbuckler who's in it
Kind
for
of a
the
little
money.
bit jaded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I will say, The Rock, or what is his name in this? Frank.
Yeah.
I just saw the movie. Frank is a little less likable because he's more deceitful and money grubby for the
He kind
first
of
half
is,
of the
yeah.
movie. It's not until halfway through where we finally have a switch.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as O'Connell in The Mummy, because in that he's a little jaded and he's a little like, yeah, whatever, I'll take it here. But like, it's done where he's more likable, it's more charming.
Well, and he doesn't
It's
keep
less-
trying to trick Evie and
Yeah,
Jonathan
exactly.
and get them out of it. He's like, sure,
He's
yeah, I'll do it.
Not a con artist. Benny's
Yes.
the con artist in The Mummy.
That's right.
So,
Yes.
It's just, I thought that was funny. And there are other characters that kind of, like there's Trader Sam is kind of like Ardith Bay in The Mummy.
Oh, yes.
And there's, there are others. The villain thing doesn't really translate over perfectly because there's like 4 or 5 villains in this.
It's true.
This is, I mean, minor spoilers here, but there's the Cursed Conquistadors, which is, I guess, Imhotep. But then you've also got like the German dude.
The eccentric German who sings a lot.
Yeah, with a thick German accent.
Yes.
One of the funniest scenes in the movie is where the brother, McGregor, can't figure out what the German guy is saying because his accent is so thick.
That is really
and
funny.
I actually really like that scene. Both those actors do really well in that.
Yes. I will say, even though I don't like the character of... Jonathan's just wonderful in The Mummy. So it was hard for me with this brother, McGregor.
Yeah.
He's definitely likable, but in a different way. He's a little...
He is. He's probably the most likable of all the characters, actually.
He's so funny.
He is.
And like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is saying all these dry
Well,
puns that
Oh
are...
my gosh.
I understand they're part of the ride, and when I'm
Yeah.
on the ride, I'm all about it. It's funny, sure, say your puns.
But in this, they just remind me of my dad. Our dad, I should say.
Yes. I loved that they inserted the groaning, because
that made it for me.
that's the funniest
That
part.
made it, yeah.
When everyone reacts with the appropriate response
Yeah,
of,
eye rolls and groans. Just, oh, geez.
Yes.
There's even a little girl that says, "Mommy, make him stop." And I like that. I like that a lot.
yes.
Yeah. It's funny that almost all the characters are not as likable as their counterparts in The Mummy, though. Almost all. I will say, I think the brother is as likable as Jonathan.
Yes.
But anyway, I guess we should shut up about The Mummy. Really would like to go watch The Mummy.
I would always like to
Pretty
go
much
watch The Mummy,
always.
yeah.
About Lily, though, Emily Blunt's character, I will say she does actually have flaws, which is a rarer thing because nowadays it's, woman power 100%. You can't show a woman having flaws. She actually has some flaws in this. Mm-hmm. So despite the fact that she's a little bit abrasive about her feminism stuff, she has flaws and she has a little bit of humility too. So
Yeah.
it's a nice rounded character, and Emily Blunt is really charming.
I love her.
She's great.
She's
yeah.
wonderful in everything.
And she
so.
actually does have really good chemistry with The Rock, I thought.
Yeah, it was surprising to me, but
Yeah.
I thought that worked.
They have scenes that I think might have been ad-libbed, and it works. And like
When
that's
she's pulling the sword out
I
of
think
him.
that's one of them, yeah.
It feels so real.
it kind of does.
Yes.
I wonder if they made that up on the spot. I really do.
Yes. When she's like
So-
out the back, it's. I laugh so hard.
It is. It's funny.
The German prince is eccentric, and kind of I don't understand a lot of his motivations.
They don't ever really explain it up until at one point he just is basically after the same tree of life that they're all after.
I guess we're supposed to assume that since he's a German in that time period, he just wants world
Yes.
domination and power.
I guess, because they almost gloss over the fact this takes place smack in the middle of World War I, but it's never explicitly mentioned. It's
Yes.
just if you don't know World War I, at least for Europe, was 1914 and 1918, you wouldn't know that because they don't mention it.
Well, they do mention it right at the beginning, and they talk about the troops and illnesses, but other than that,
I guess they kind of in
They
his
do.
speech to the society or whatever.
yes.
Okay.
But then after that, it's forgotten.
It is forgotten. And then, yeah, they never really talk about German Prince Joachim, I think his name is. Or however do they say it? Joachim is, I guess, the Spanish pronunciation. But anyway, he doesn't really explain his motivation until close to the end when he talks about how he would be able to rule basically forever if
Yes.
he finds this mystical...
Just being a villain. Just a
Yeah.
straight up villain.
He wants... Yeah, not only does he want power, he wants power forever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, yeah. I guess it's as good a motive as any for this kind of movie, but
Sure.
it just seems a little a day late and a dollar short. You don't get it until like 3/4 of the way through the movie,
Yeah.
and after that, it's like you're already royalty. You're already
Well, and in the first scene, they tease the fact that he's royalty, and then he starts killing people because you've told them who I am.
well, yeah.
But
not
for
to
a man-
mention, he commands this U-boat and has swanky officers' quarters on the U-boat.
Yeah.
And then like that, I don't know. I guess it's never enough for some people.
I don't know. But I will say in the beginning, for a man who's trying to remain anonymous, why would you show up wearing a bright purple velvet coat? I don't feel
Yeah.
like that was... I don't know a lot about
That's
that
something
era.
I'd never understood. The anonymity thing. He basically slaughters everybody and is just like, I was supposed to be anonymous. Like,
But you're dressed like Ronald McDonald.
you kind of are, yeah. It's kind of interesting. So one of the criticisms I saw about this is that somebody didn't like that The Rock, again, minor spoilers, plays a Spanish conquistador in it. And I guess their concern was, The Rock is Polynesian. And I'm like, so? Like, you see him done up as a Spanish conquistador, and he looks like a Spanish conquistador,
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that criticism. I thought he did really well as that, honestly.
I thought so too. The one thing I will say is, I don't know, should you be this picky? Probably not. But he has a blatant American accent through the whole thing. And I'm like, how did a man from Spain who ended up in South America develop
speaking to people in Spanish and Portuguese, develop a perfect American accent? It's a good question. That's a
I don't know.
Again, we're probably vastly overthinking a movie that's supposed to be a popcorn movie. So
yes,
I don't know.
Which is fair. There are a lot of things that are introduced in this movie that are forgotten.
There are a few, yes.
World War I we talked about.
Yeah.
The moving pictures camera, I guess it's just there to establish the time frame.
I guess.
But
maybe it's just there for flavor.
She kept using it, and I kept thinking, what's going to happen with this camera? And then...
Well, I kind of thought, hopefully you're going to document what you're doing and show it to the stuck-up association when you get back, and it never
No, she just
happens.
filmed a cat with some shoes.
Yeah. Although they do kind of, give the finger to the association when they get back, but indirectly it's all sort of very quickly glossed over.
Yes.
And then the bigger one that you pointed out, actually, is at some point in the movie, McGregor, the brother, breaks his ankle. And then shortly thereafter, he's hopping around on it like it ain't no thing.
Well, and I feel like they established the timeline that it's only 2 days?
As a matter of fact, after he breaks it, I think it's the next day.
Yes.
And he's hopping around on it like it's
oh, yeah,
fine.
Totally. Just running around, no limp, no nothing. There's a lot of things where I just feel like attention wasn't paid to, like Emily Blunt, she drowns. She's revived.
But then she doesn't ever spit up water.
No.
Doesn't take a minute to catch her breath. She wakes up and smacks the rock.
Maybe she was faking it.
Maybe. That was quite the acting job she did.
Totally.
I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yes, it's...
And granted, you have no idea what ended up on the cutting room floor with this.
Sure.
Maybe if we, I'm sure eventually this will get a Blu-ray release and maybe it'll have them on there, but you don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say. But there are quite a few things that they just kind of forget about.
Yeah.
They need to come up with a term for that.
Yes. The forgotten...
The forgotten injury? McGregor's ankle?
McGregor's ankle.
Something like that.
That's funny to me.
It kind of works. I don't know. We'll see if we like it. I was trying to count booby traps because, booby traps are a staple
of adventure
in this
movies.
kind of movie, and I only counted one.
Yes,
So there's the
underwater trigger
lever thing that she's working on. That's when she gets in there, she kind of steps on something and it closes. So then she has to, lock lips with the rock in order to transfer air, which is funny. We pointed this out while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Generally, when you are pressing your face against someone else's just for the purpose of transferring
oxygen.
air, you don't go like this, like you're really into it. You know what I mean?
There's no massaging of the lips together.
That's very passionate breath, isn't it? It's kind of funny. There are a couple of... this is not what I would call a globe hopping adventure. It all basically takes place more or less in the Amazon.
Yes. Cool.
It starts and ends in London, but
Right.
It's basically just bookends.
But definitely some exotic locations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That are exciting and different for me. I've never been to the Amazon.
No, it looks
I
great.
don't need to go.
Like I said, a lot of CGI, but most of it looks really good.
Yes, their set was incredible. That set they built in
Yes.
Hawaii of the docks and everything.
And the meandering river, it was really
it
something.
looked so good. I loved the set pieces in
That
this.
did look good.
There was a lot of CGI, but the actual physical set pieces, because you can tell
Oh, yeah.
when they're there, I thought they were awesome.
They were pretty great. One of the things we talked about, one of the tropes, I don't even know if I'd say tropes. It's just one of the basically defining things about the adventure genre is the presence of danger. And I felt like in a couple places they were just pushing it a little too far to be believed, which apparently is a theme in this movie. But when they are at the big waterfall and are trying to now escape the big waterfall, they, turn the boat around, and it just seems almost ridiculous to me. It kind of, I don't want to say it lost me, because I still enjoyed the movie.
For sure.
But it broke my sense of believability.
Yes, there's no way, I'm sorry, but a giant, massive waterfall and the boat...
And they basically have the boat half hanging off.
Yes, but
the
they
propeller barely even in the water.
Yes, but it still gives them about 2 minutes to argue about, should we turn around?
Yeah.
No, I'm
you
good.
ready to go back now?
That boat's impressive that it can...
Oh man, so impressive.
Yes, and then...
The jet-powered Batman boat
Yeah.
is... It strained credulity at that point.
Yes.
So...
And then a couple things like when they finally reach the Tree of Life, which is the basic...
Yeah, they call it something
Legend.
different, but
Yes.
it is basically the Tree of Life.
Tree of
legend.
Life,
Yeah.
the legend that this is based around. They get there during the day, they find where the tree is, they have to solve a puzzle, which
Yeah.
I understand that in movies, time is a little,
Yeah, there's
Fluid?
dilation of time.
of course. But it's daytime, we solve a puzzle, it's nighttime, and the moon is in the perfect place, but only for about a minute.
Yeah, I swear, it's like 2 minutes.
And then it's gone. But wait, the moon,
And then
comes,
the moon comes back. Yeah.
I guess I need to pay more attention to the night sky
Well,
when
it's
the moon
not just
goes.
any moon. It's a special moon that they also happen to be there right in time for. So,
course.
it's just one of those
So lucky.
maybe too many coincidences. But I don't know. Now, I realize we're ripping on this quite a bit, but I actually enjoyed the movie.
Oh,
quite a
yes.
bit, you
It
know.
was fun. There's funny moments, good characters.
The humor's good.
Yes.
Like I said, the action scenes feel like they're maybe a little over choreographed and maybe go a little fast, but they're fun.
Yeah.
And overall, I liked the movie. I'm glad I saw the movie.
Yeah.
So I wanted this to be another The Mummy, another Raiders.
We always do with every adventure
but-
movie.
I don't feel like it was quite there for me. I still liked it. I could see myself buying it when it comes out on video, maybe. But like, I don't know that I necessarily say I'm going to rush out. What?
You just dated yourself. Comes up on videotape.
On VHS? On the Betamax? Yeah.
Do they even come down on physical? Do they even come out in physical copy anymore?
I think so.
I thought it was just digital. I'm sure we're headed there.
Well, I mean, they're not doing away with discs yet, but like, people.
I don't know.
So I know we've kind of ripped on this movie a little bit, but I actually did enjoy it. I don't know if I'd say I loved it, but I liked it.
Did you?
Yes.
Well,
And you?
yes, I did too. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, not love, but like,
I thought it was a lot of fun.
it is fun.
It's being a Disney movie, I think it might be a little scary for young kids. It's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean in that way.
Maybe I don't have a good gauge of that. Like, your kids will be fine. It's just the Evil Dead. They'll be fine.
Make some tough, rub some dirt on it.
That's right.
They're CGI, so my brain goes
I
totally
guess
fake.
that's part of the problem. It looks fake, but if you're not old enough to know that it's fake, it would maybe be scary.
Yes. But the idea of a human being made up of snakes is something straight out of my nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that a couple people are attacked where it just comes at their face and does
Yeah.
that's upsetting.
Well, and at least twice. Like the main bad guy is the one made up of snakes. Somebody cuts his face and snakes come out, which is
It's a cool idea.
it's gross and freaky, but yeah, like I said, I'm torn by the fact that it kind of looked fake, and the fact that it's a cool idea visually. It's gross if you think about it, but I don't know. Kids, what was this even rated? I don't
What is it rated?
I don't even pay attention to these things anymore, to be honest.
I'm PG-13. It's got to be in there. Pirates is PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mummy was PG-13. Mummy had like, gold painted boobs though.
Sure did.
This has nothing like that.
No, it doesn't. Nothing.
So I don't know.
Just for like
there's scary
spooky
images,
factor,
I guess, but I don't know.
Probably
it might
could
be
be
PG.
PG.
I don't know. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
We don't have kids. We don't care.
Somebody might. Somebody might have children out
Yeah,
there.
somebody there does definitely have children.
Music.
The music. The first time I saw this, afterward I thought, I can't think of any of the music. Like, it just seemed like it might as well not have even been there. With the exception, at the time, the only piece of music I could remember was like they do guitar.
Spanish guitar.
In the flashback scenes, they do Spanish guitar that becomes electric guitar.
Yes, that's how it starts with the prologue, too, with the
yeah.
Spanish guitar.
And I think it's the same song. The trivia on IMDb says that's a Metallica song. I am not a big enough Metallica fan to know if that's true or not.
Me either. But I will say that was the one part that I found distracting.
It is a little. I don't think it necessarily doesn't fit, but like I could see how you would find it distracting. I will say, on my most recent viewing, I did notice the music in a couple of spots a bit more. So it's spotty for me. There are times where the music, when I notice, is really great, and then it's just fades into the background the rest of the time. Which, I mean, sometimes that's what you want.
Yeah.
John Carpenter famously says that he wanted the music in his movies to be wallpaper. He didn't want it to be the focus of attention.
Yes, and I know that is oftentimes the goal. It should just, what's the word I want? It should
Compliment, but not, that's not the word you're going for, but go ahead.
No,
we got time.
It should like be the frosting on the cake.
But not the cake. Yeah,
Yes.
I understand. Well, part of me, I'm comparing this movie mainly to Pirates of the Caribbean, which, like, the music might be the best part of that movie.
Yes.
And I love the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
And
but
everybody
even
knows that score.
The music elevates that.
Yes.
And the Mummy, the sound is, the music is great in the Mummy.
Yeah.
And, you also think of other things in the genre, the Indiana Jones movies.
It's an anthem.
The music is fantastic. So I thought it was weird. James Newton Howard did the music for this, who's a great composer. But it's just weird that at times it's invisible, and then at times it's like, that's really beautiful. And there's times, again, where nothing, and then it pops in like, well, that's pretty music.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of another movie that is like that for me. So what did you think of Jungle Cruise overall?
Thought it was totally fun. Not a life changer. I'd probably give it like a B.
Okay.
Solid B. Yeah,
That's
I had
decent.
a good time.
I was hovering around C+, B-, but I think I'd go with B-.
Okay.
I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah. Well, it obviously had big budget,
Yeah.
good
great,
actors.
Production values were very high.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a lot going for it. It's an entertaining movie. It's
Yeah.
just not, like I said, I hoped it would be The Mummy or Raiders, but it's not quite there.
Sure.
One of the things, it's hard to judge. A lot of this has to do with your frame of reference, right?
Mhm.
So if you've only ever seen like the 3 original Indiana Jones movies, Raiders, fantastic. Last Crusade, awesome. Temple of Doom, maybe not up with the others, but still pretty good,
Mhm.
And then you come in with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and it looks like dog shit,
Yeah.
And there are people that legitimately hate that movie. And if that's your frame of reference,
Well, yeah, compared to
Understand.
those.
but there are so much worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I know that's going to blow people's minds, but there are movies so much worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And we're going to watch them. And we're going to review them. So,
Well, you talked about it's like horror films. There are a lot more bad
Yes.
horror films than there are great horror films. And
Many
it's
more.
the same with adventure.
the difference overall is that they make way more horror films than adventure films, but I would say the ratio is about right. There's maybe one good one to 10 bad ones.
Okay.
Maybe more than 10,
Yeah, okay.
So, but yes, there are, in this scale, I'm giving Jungle Cruise a B. That might ruffle some feathers, but I'm saying that because my frame of reference has way more of the crap no one's seen,
Sure.
So because of that, I think maybe I rate this a little more charitably than some people do.
For sure. It's all
I
relative.
still think it deserves it, because it's not horrible.
No.
It's maybe not world class, but it's pretty good. I think it's worth seeing. That's my point.
Good.
All right. So, did you see Jungle Cruise? If so, what did you think about it? Let us know in the comments.
And if there's anything you'd like us to review in the adventure genre, let us know that as well.
Until next time, fortune and glory, my friends.